Loan officers, do you wish you had a 6% conversion rate from lead to application? Well, Jeremy Forcier does, and he's going to walk you through his exact client conversation over the next 60 minutes. So buckle up, stay tuned, learn the scripts he uses, learn the strategies he uses to get clients on Zoom, learn how he answers the, hey, what's my rate and payment question, and really learn what are the most important questions that he asks in order to have that average conversation be about 15 minutes. Every once in a while, they go 7, 8 minutes. Every once in a while, they go 30 minutes, which is what he schedules them for. But the bottom line is this is Jeremy Forcier's numbers are amazing, and I think yours could be better. So stay tuned. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Loan Officer Mastermind. I am Todd Bookspan, and I am so excited you are here for just another version of our conversation with the GOAT, Jeremy Forcier. But before I bring on Jeremy, I got to bring on none other than Deb Byrd, our co-host for the last, at least 5-6 years. Welcome, Deborah.
I know every time you guys go back and try to give that number, I'm like, I don't even remember. I think it was 2020, 2021 when I came on board. Anyways, hello, happy Friday, happy last week of July. So those of you who are listening to this, maybe the replay or watching it on YouTube over the weekend, today is actually International Self-Care Day.
Now I do. That's
yes.
awesome. And it's fun. I started this 10 years ago alongside of the captain, Dave Savage, founder of Mortgage Coach. How are you, sir?
I am doing awesome. I'm super pumped to have this conversation with Jeremy today. So guys, we are literally weeks away from not just halftime anymore. We're like a month into the second half of the year. I'm actually in the process of writing a halftime report. But one thing I've noticed about the best, and Jeremy is definitely one of the best, is like at halftime, they are re-gaming it up. Jeremy had forwarded me a document that he worked on. I don't know if he just did it this week or he's been working on it for weeks, but he's calling it his Rise Co code. So I just want to remind you guys, it's past halftime of the year. It's time to game it up, upgrade whatever you're doing, figure out what you need to stop doing, what you need to start doing. And with that said, Todd, I'll give it to you to bring on the man himself.
Yeah, today I love the topic. It's the 6 mistakes that sabotage your first client meeting. And I mean, you all know, right? I mean, Dave's been doing interviews for even longer than the 10 years we've been doing the Friday interviews. There's no person that Dave has interviewed more than Jeremy Forcier. And the bottom line is this, is that the reason that Dave brings him back is because it's what you all want. It's who delivers the most value to you. And really, when you look at loan officers who are finding success in today's market, they're doing certain things, but they're also not doing certain things. So I love the fact that Jeremy's going to walk us through it. I don't know what your numbers are right now, Jeremy, but I know you're closing loans in the high 20 units at least per month. You're crushing it, on track for a record year in a non-record market. So welcome, Jeremy Forcier.
Thank you. Yeah, it is not going to be a record year for me like all time. I just want to be clear on that. But I would say if you had a bell curve, you know what I mean, with as far as like how hard is the market, headwinds, tailwinds, I would probably say it's my best year for sure. So like if you, all things considered, and I think it's important to have that perspective, by the way, like for everyone that's on the call, I know that we are all high achievers or we're high achievers in training, and we want to always do more than we're doing no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're doing 4 loans a month right now, you want to do 20. It doesn't matter if you're doing 1 loan a month, you want to do 5. It doesn't matter if you're doing 24 loans a month, I want to do 40. Like it just is the way it is. But I think that having the perspective of how hard is the market for real, because I know it's easy to say that the market doesn't matter, I don't care, it's not going to impact like my production. And those are good mentalities to have. And I do actually believe that that is true for myself. Like it doesn't matter to me necessarily what the market does as long as I'm doing my best and I'm growing in it. But it is important to have a reality check of like, but how hard really is it compared to maybe my best year ever, right? What helped me in my best year ever? Do I have any of those attributes right now, like in this market, that I could leverage, take advantage of? The answer is no. Then you need new things, right, that you have to be doing in order to keep growing. So I appreciate you having me on. What I'm going to do today is go through what I call like the initial consultation playbook that I've created. And this is something that I use personally. This is something that I have my loan officers use. And when I say I have them use, like I ask them every time they ask me a question on like why I'm having trouble with this, putting this thing together. I don't know if the borrower is going to call. I'm like, well, did you follow the initial consultation playbook? And, most of the time they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, this really, really, really works, you guys. And so I'm going to share it with you. But within that, right, is really the mistakes is what people make. Like I've identified, some big ones that I make still sometimes, but that I used to make all the time. Right. So before I hop into that, Deb Byrd, I love you. You look lovely today. So
Thank
nice
you.
to have you. And I'm looking forward to any of your guys' feedback. Feel free to jump in, anytime that you want. So I'm just going to get this pulled up here real quick.
Are those Meta glasses?
No, I do have Meta glasses. And these are like, I can't see anymore. I'm 46
I was
glasses.
like, are you streaming live at the same time? That'd be pretty cool.
No, I have a hard time seeing, which is amazing. That's a new thing. So slideshow, let me just hit yes. Sorry, guys.
Welcome to aging.
I know, man. It is so true.
Although red light therapy worked for you, Dave. So
yeah, that was the first thing in my 40s to be like, oh, readers.
Yes. So
and before you know it, I need full-time glasses. But I did have 20/20 vision until 45, just for the record, everybody.
So I'm not going to put it in full presenter mode because for some reason it wants to take over both of my screens. So I'm just going to show you the ghetto way because you always have to pivot. There's lesson number 1. Okay. Is that if something's not working right, just pivot and make it work like the way that it is. So this is the initial consultation playbook. And this is like a framework that I follow, will continue to follow and not change at all until something changes, like until it's not working the same way anymore. So, what I'm going to go over here today is like the different 8 steps that I go through and that I teach and that will really help you all in your actual interactions with people. And you can use this not just in your first appointment with a potential client, borrower, etc. You can use it like maybe the second and third time you talk to them too, as far as a framework goes. But this is exactly what I do the first time, every single time. And what I think is so important to remember is that the mission of your first appointment is literally just to discover. That's all it is. That's why a lot of great mortgage advisors call it a discovery call. Right? It's just to discover. That's why people in other industries, when they want to sell you a product or something, they say, hey, let's set up a discovery call, right? It's the same exact thing for us, right? So in our first meeting, we are not presenting anything. Like it is truly, truly the goal is to understand the situation on a high level and on a granular level, as well as identify any obstacles and really create that connection, right? So we want to confidently be able to guide them through a process correctly. And we want to make sure that we talk way less than the other person. Now, these are the steps that I'm going to go over. And it's pretty simple, but you need to practice it. So I'm going to say that again, right? Riding a bike is pretty simple. But if you never rode a bike and you didn't practice it after the first time you got going, you probably would still struggle with riding a bike. So these are skills that I still am practicing all the time. Okay. These are skills that I am still literally practicing all the time. So when I look at this, and just to stop sharing for a second, like I'll give you an example of how I'm still practicing. So this week I recorded almost 80% of everything I did on video. 80. Like whether it was a recording device with my Plod, plus my Zoom with it recording in my meetings, not even when I wasn't meeting, making calls, like doing all of that, like that is me practicing. Because here's one thing I've noticed is that when you start to record things, just so you know, you actually behave better. Shocker, right? like they always say, like, you should act like everyone's always watching you, even when they're not. Well, this is an easy way to big brother yourself and get really good at practicing. I'm better when I'm actually recording. So that's number 1. Number 2 on the recording tip is that you can take these audio transcriptions and you can load them into different, I almost hate saying the word AI anymore, by the way. Like you can load them into different sites that will actually break down and analyze where you were strong and weak, and it will tell you. And I love it. So I've been doing it all week like crazy. And then it can also help you create content. So these 8 steps.
Real quick, yeah. Jeremy, maybe you said this and I just missed it, but did you tell them to, like, before they're kind of coaching themselves with AI to upload your slides? I didn't catch you say that.
To upload your slides?
Well, your slides, like you have a framework, the Jeremy Forcier way
Yeah.
of doing things.
100%.
So, okay. Yeah, just guys, what Jeremy is giving you is pure gold. And then, the key to this is the consistent implementation. Like
Yep.
having a couple great slides and a great framework's great, but if you're not implementing consistently these things, you never get great at actually executing.
100%. So, super simply here, right? Our goal here in these steps in order is build rapport, discover, right? Payment goal. So notice I said payment goal. That's number 3, right? Employment and income. Relocation check. Okay, this is something that I added after COVID, right? Fears and concerns, open Q&A, and then guiding them to the next step. So the reason why we want to always make sure we build rapport before the business is spend several minutes like building comfort. Like comfort for them on their side. Like people usually will buy from people that they trust or that they seem to trust. So I'm not talking about small talk, silly things like that. This is like super strategic relationship building. So you want to make sure that you let them feel heard, like before you ever discuss anything as far as numbers go. So let's just hop right into the first one, right? So here's what and you've probably heard me say this before if you've been on Mortgage Coach or watched anything that I do, is that this is how I start any conversation with anyone, right? And I'm going to role play it here with one of my awesome mentors that are on this call. But the opening script after you've built any type of simple rapport is tell me your story, the whole story. Tell me your story, the whole story. Right. And then you can add anything you want in after that. So I gave you an example here of like, hey, I know you're thinking about buying a house. Tell me your story, the whole story. Tell me everything. Right? What are you looking to do? When you do that, it literally opens the other person up, right? To actually share all the things that they are afraid of sharing. Like it's this magic, I'm going to call it Phil Jones squared. Like it's like a magic phrase that I have learned that works so well. And they will tell you everything. They'll tell you things that you don't even need to know. Right. And that's okay because we want them to be open up. Now, things that I'm always looking for whenever I am doing this is I'm looking for, do they mention a purchase price at all? Some people do, some people don't. Right. Do they mention any type of location or area that they're thinking about moving to? Do they mention any motivations? Like we have a lease until October 30th. Right. So from timing, motivations, do they have a kid? Are they getting a divorce? Those are all motivations that I'm always looking for. Right. Do they mention a budget at all? Here's what I will tell you. 8 out of 10 people don't ever mention a budget, by the way. But it's the most important part, which we'll get to next, of course. But that most people don't mention a budget. How do people think about it?
Interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think that?
Because they haven't thought of it yet, Jeremy.
I love Todd's answer because it's so simple and that's how I think.
You don't think they thought about it at that point?
So I actually think that they have thought about it, but it's way down on the list. Okay. So not really. Like it's a thought that they don't want to address. Okay. It's a thought that they don't want to address. Most people, like I said, 8 out of 10. And in first-time home buyer land, that's really actually what I'm talking about. It's about 8 out of 10. For people that are moving up, buying investment property, it's a lot lower. It's probably like 4 out of 10, haven't actually thought about it. But the real reason is like when you look at homes online, you're looking at purchase prices, right? That's why at the end of the day, like you're just looking at the house is pretty. Oh my God, it's visual, it's emotional, and it cost X dollars. Most people don't think about monthly budget is what I'm talking about and what they can afford. Most people think about budget in a purchase price. So I'll give you an example, Todd and Deb. I ask this question all the time, right? And I'm kind of jumping ahead a little, but it's okay because it will help everyone understand. Is like, hey, so tell me about your monthly payment budget. If you were to buy this house that you're interested in, where would you like to keep your monthly payments at max? Right? I ask that question. Do you know how many times people answer me with, yeah, I think that, 550,000, like they answer in the purchase price, even though I just asked them monthly payment budget. So I've paid attention to this a lot over the last couple of years. And I'm like, this is fascinating. Even if I direct them to monthly payment budget, they literally already default back to purchase price, right? Now, I've also noticed that those individuals that default back to purchase price are usually the ones that are the most nervous, right, about purchasing. Like I said, monthly payment budget, and it's like old trauma for them or something. They're just like, yeah, 400,000, I think. Like the cheaper, the better. Like they just literally like default back to a protection, right, of protecting themselves. So I've noticed that in all of them, but we want to be listening for all of these cues and clues, okay? If they do mention budget, awesome. Like, do they have any prior home ownership experience? Those are things that I'm looking for on like, hey, I had a bad experience, or we haven't owned a home. It's happened this week, right? Where someone said, hey, we're going to need a lot of help because we haven't bought a house or owned a home in 10 years. So they're already telling me, yes, they have home ownership experience, but they feel like they don't remember anything, right? They feel like first timers. I've had other people say, hey, we had a really poor experience last time, right? Like that we bought a house, right? So that's the experience stuff that you're looking for. So the more that you can get them to open up to that is awesome. And you're really looking for obstacles that you can overcome. So the key insight here on this one is like, this single question, tell me your story, the whole story, like will literally open up the door to everything you need to know, and let them talk, take notes, and stay curious. Like staying curious is really.
Isn't that the biggest mistake then, is most people then they listen to the first couple things and they just jump in and start selling versus continuing with curiosity and, oh, tell me more about that, and then let them keep going.
Yeah, 100%. Like if a client tells me that like, hey, I'll give you guys a great example. Okay. So I flew to Portland just for the weekend, as Dave knows, because I saw him, and like went to a Chris Stapleton concert, right? As I'm getting ready to leave, I worked from my hotel all day Friday, got there super early in the morning. And as I'm leaving, getting ready to leave to walk to the venue, literally I get that awesome 911 text, right? From a past client who I love, right? And introducing me to his friend who's been in escrow for 5 weeks. Chase just declined it. Can you? And so of course I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm getting ready to go to a concert. If it's an emergency, I can chat right now for like 10 minutes. Otherwise, let's schedule time for tomorrow. Of course, what do you say? I'm ready.
Emergency.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
Let's go.
So you get on the call, right? And I use this, tell me the story, the whole story. You guys, I got it. I mean, you talk about everything. I am prepped. I can tell that I can give this guy advice because he's telling me about his business and how he incorporated to this, and then a facility he owned burnt down, and they haven't got the insurance check yet, and bought a house, 3 months ago. He used all the down payment for that, but then now he met this lady that he knows, didn't know she was going to sell her house. It's way nicer, more expensive. I mean, I know everything. Right. And, Chase just declined me because they said I don't show any money on my tax returns. Listen for that. Right. He's self-employed, doesn't show money on his tax returns, and so I got to advise him quickly, right, of like, hey, I can help you for sure, but you were never going to get that loan, right? You like, I'm sorry that they drug it out that long, but you just weren't ever going to get that loan, and I feel for you, right? Like, so I'm going to figure out a way to help you. Well, great. He filled out the loan app. It is a tricky triangulation of things, okay? But it turns out he has a 664 FICO, right? When I run the credit. Well, a 664 FICO, if any of you know this, with 10% down on $1.2 million purchase, bank statement loan qualifier, it's ugly as far as pricing goes, right? So, but I got to go over all of it with him, and I just presented the information, right? Reiterated the obstacles. I hate having to tell you this, but it's going to be 8.75% with 2.5 points. Like, because you have every LLPA that exists. It's an exception because you don't have a 700 score. You got a 664 to go to that LTV. It's this, right? But guess what? He said, I appreciate it so much. I'm going to make it happen. Let's do it. Like, you just have to listen for the cues, the obstacles, and you will get all kinds of information by asking that one question. Tell me the story, the whole story. Now, the next step in all of this is to make sure that you're anchoring on affordability, not price. So this is what I'm talking about when we ask about monthly payment budget. So we go from tell me the story, the whole story, have some interaction, great. And then you just hit them with this next question, right? Have you thought about monthly payment budget? Monthly payment budget, right? Do you want that budget to include property taxes and homeowners insurance. This is a massive question that I don't know why we don't ask it this clearly. Like, just ask it this clearly. Do you have a monthly payment budget? Do you want that to be inclusive of everything, property taxes and insurance? Because there is a huge difference between a $3,500 mortgage payment and a $3,500 mortgage payment plus $1,400 for taxes and insurance. There is a gigantic difference there, right? So focusing on payment comfort right out of the gate rather than purchase price, like, you want them to think in monthly terms, because that's how we're going to present all our information anyway. So meet them where they are, of course, but this takes the conversation away from how much house to what feels good for you, what feels sustainable for you. And this is just in a really, really simple way. Now, it's okay if they say, I haven't thought about that. A lot of people say that, first-time home buyers for sure, right? Or you get first-time home buyers that are like, well, I'm paying $1,800 in rent, so I'm thinking $1,900. Right? You're going to get all kinds of answers like that. That's true. It just is true, right? So you have to be prepared for all of that. And you're not looking for a particular answer. You're just being curious about how does their brain work and how have they thought about this up to meeting me, right? That is what we're looking for. Because if we can understand that, then we can have the ability to add way more value to them and show like how much of an expert we are. So before I move to the next one, any questions?
Yeah, I've got two quick questions. One, when helping first-time homebuyers in your market, what percentage are you finding that the house payment is more than the rent? Is it 150%?
Every single
double?
100%.
So a double on average.
Oh, no. I'm not saying it's double on average. I'm saying 100% of people I talk to, owning a house is more expensive than renting.
Well, yes. And then by how much? By what percentage? Like 150%, 200%?
So that's a really good question. And I want you guys to hear me out on this. This will help. Here's a script for you as well, because I just love script. And remember, a script is just a talking point. You don't have to memorize it and deliver it the exact same way. It's just a talking point. So I do ask this question a lot when people don't have one, you know what I mean? Like in mind, and they're just like, I don't know, maybe 3,000, maybe 38, I don't know. Like when they don't know, I say, here's a really simple rule of thumb that you can expect home ownership to be about 1.5 times whatever you're paying in rent, like on average, 1.5 times. So if you're paying $3,000 a month, you are probably can expect about a $4,500 mortgage payment with property taxes and insurance, right? And then the reason I set it up that way, number one, I wanted to know it's going to be more by a lot. And number two is then it sets me up for the next talking point script, okay? Which is, and just so you know, there's a lot of benefits though in that $4,500 a month payment from a tax standpoint, as well as principal pay down of the loan, et cetera. So, but we'll get into that as we go further. That's how I lead them. Okay. So,
and then one more question. Given how much insurance has gone up over the past couple of years and how variable it could be, like in your market, there's homes that are in fire zones that, it could be but how big a deal is that now versus a year or two ago? Or is it kind of the same? It hasn't changed much.
It hasn't changed much like in the last 2 years for me, but it has changed. I mean, we had massive changes, right? Where I live like 7 years ago when huge fires happened. And then, yes, it's gone up, and now it's kind of leveled out. But it is a great talking point for all of us to have. And I do bring that up too. Like when I show numbers, even for example, I'm like, hey, this has an estimate of $300 a month, right? In insurance. You're going to get your own quote. It might be less than this, or it could be slightly more than this. So I am inflating numbers on insurance because the last thing that you want to do is max qualify someone in a market like this. And then they get into contract at their max number and their insurance comes back $69 more a month or $200 more a month. And they legit don't qualify. Like it is a problem. And so I am inflating it. We used to use like a 0.2 factor, a long time ago.
Back in now we're 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're using like 0.5. So we find that like things come in typically between 0.38% and 0.5%, as far as that's the range on homeowners insurance in my market. That is, you guys all have your own markets and know. But yes, we're using the higher side for qualifying, like absolutely 100%.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, really good question. So after you have like gone through that step, right, and you've talked about payment budget and you're looking for those clues and advising them and getting to show a little bit of your skills, the next question that I always go to, which is really, really simple, is like mapping out every dollar of qualifying income. So these are questions around their income. And this is where I see people waste the most time and make big mistakes from a loan officer standpoint outside of just talking too much and trying to impress the other person. It's this area, it's the income area. Every loan that we have an issue on within my branch that I manage that is not my loan, and I'm not gloating, I'm just saying that I get pretty detailed info on the income, is because they didn't ask the right questions about income, right? Like, and these are simple questions like, hey, so tell me about your income. You have to pivot here from the monthly payment budget to tell me about your income. What do you do for work? Are you self-employed? Listen to them, ask follow-up questions. Do you get paid a salary? What's your guaranteed salary if you're W-2, right? You know, are you paid hourly? Are you paid per diem, like per day? Are you commission based? Is any of your income commissions, bonus, or RSUs, restricted stock options? These questions, A, show your expertise, B, get to point things out to them on how things are calculated in advance so that you don't say this, which is what I see all the time with a lot of people that work for me, is awesome. You said you make $200,000 a year, but I see this all the time where they just ask that. And then when you get the income in, they're in contract. And it turns out that like overtime was 50% of their income. They've only had the overtime income for 1 year. You can't average it over two, and you're screwed. Or people that say that they make 600,000 a year. This happens to me all the time in this market. They make $110,000, but they have stock options with their tech company. Like that we can't just use the extra 500 grand. Like there's a calculation that goes into it. That's where I see the biggest mistake happen when it comes to income, is not asking the right questions. And when you do ask the right questions, as I said, you get the benefit of being an expert in the client's mind and building trust right up front, because a lot of other people aren't asking this type of stuff, right? And you get the benefit of saying, oh, cool. So you have RSU income, Todd. That's awesome, man. I'm super familiar with restricted stock option units. So how long have you been there? Have you received it for 2 years? And are you vesting moving forward? Do you have a vesting schedule? Like you get the opportunity to ask those questions. And if people haven't been vested for 2 years, or they're getting ready to vest for the first time, you can't use it. And you get to have that like really honest conversation with them of like, hey, great. So for the purpose of qualifying, I'm just going to use your base income. Like for right now, we'll get your documents in and see if there's anything we can use for that. But that is unearned income so far, right? And we don't have a history of it. So there's like no way to average it. But please send it in. We'll see what we can do. But for the purpose of this, I'm just going to use your base income. Okay. And they always say, okay. Like it's a really, really easy way to transition. So also asking if there's any additional income sources. I remember when I used to take them by hand when I was first in the business. And one benefit of taking them by hand is you're just going down the checklist of things, and we'll ask, do you receive any alimony, child support, or separate maintenance? Like you literally ask it, right? And that's income you can use. So making sure that in this modern time that we're still asking old school questions, right? Like, is there any additional income sources? And feel free to give them some prompts on that. Think of them as like using Chat GPT, like what you prompt them is what you're going to get back. So list the things. Do you get any stock or dividend income? IRA distributions, if you know that they're older when you're talking to them. These are questions that once
Side
again,
gigs.
yep. Yeah, anything, right? Are you a beneficiary of a trust? Do you receive any trust income? Like just ask them. All they're going to say is yes or no. Like it's not that big of a deal. But when we're asking about income, for some reason, a lot of us shy away. Like it's too personal. Bro, they're giving you your social security number. It's not too personal. Like don't worry about it. We need to know everything, right? So that is like step 4, is making sure that we get really, really dialed in on like the income side of things, right? And here's another tip for you. And this is step 5, is one that I think is one of the most overlooked qualification issues in our industry right now, is when people are saying that they're going to move pretty far away and it's an owner occupied loan, we need to be asking them, like, do you work remote? Like, how does your actual job work? Are you allowed to work remote? Right? Will you need a new job when you move if you're relocating somewhere? Like, that's so important, because if you just qualify them on where they are now, but they're moving to Texas from California and they actually don't have a job lined up. Hey, that's enough out of you, Deb. So, but they actually don't have enough, right? Like, they don't have a job set up there. No, we're going to get a job when we get there. Well, no can do, no pass go, no owner occupied, right? Like, it just doesn't work. And we have to make sure that we're asking these really, really simple questions that get overlooked. Okay. So now step 6 on this is just a reminder more than anything, like, listen more than you speak. And this is my closing script question, right? Is, what fears or concerns do you have about buying a home? Just ask that. What fears or concerns do you have about buying a home? This is where you can really, really earn trust. Don't have to rush things, and you can listen and plug in. Like, don't minimize this part. Like, listen really, really carefully. Take detailed notes. Like, make sure that you acknowledge their concerns. When I was talking to that same gentleman that I told you about that has the weird income, he's in contract, he's been in contract for 6 weeks, I'm taking over. When I asked him this question, he literally stopped, he chuckled and said, "Oh man, I appreciate you asking that. I mean, here's what they are. Is that I just am not going to be able to get this loan, and I need to figure it out because I love this house." Right? They just told me that is his number one fear. So that makes me realize that, like, silence is your most powerful tool here, right? Making sure that you let them fill the space. We don't have to fill the space for them, right? Now, making sure that we only answer what is necessary and nothing more is really important after you've asked all these questions. Like, so what questions can I answer for you today? That is my guiding question out of the appointment, right? Like, do you have any other questions that I can answer for you while I got you today after I got the fears and concerns? If they say no, you're done. Like, don't keep going. If they say, nope, I don't have any more questions, they're done. Close, right? If they
What's the average
say,
time of your call, Jeremy? What's the average time of one of these calls?
yeah, so average time I'd say is 15 minutes. So I book half-hour calls or Zoom meetings for everyone that I do this with. Some of them literally are 5 to 8 minutes, and I'd say average is 15 minutes. And some of them take the whole half hour, like every once in a while, right? So, but the reason why it's so fast is because I'm not talking that much. That's the truth. Like, that's really why they go so quick, right? Is that I'm not talking that much. I'm listening, reiterating, and guiding to the next step every single time. Now, once you answer like their questions, they say, nope, I don't have any more questions, right? Then you're just literally going to transition to guiding them forward with confidence, right? So the next step is, that is my transition statement that we can all use, right? Your next step is, I'm going to send you, right, an email summary of everything that we went over in great detail so you can have it for your records. I'm going to send you a second email where you can fill out our customer questionnaire, right? Like, for pre-approval, it's really simple. After you do that, we're going to get it all tidied up on our side. And I'm going to review everything, create a personalized video presentation, AKA TCA, total cost analysis, right? Walking you through options and strategies, right? So don't ever call it a loan application. I know I've said that for 10 years, right? Call it a customer questionnaire, a questionnaire for pre-approval, a simple intake form. Create it in your own voice, but don't call it a loan application so they won't be afraid of getting declined, right? And now, side note on this, if at this point they just want to know like what numbers are, I think that most mortgage advisors, loan officers, originators, whatever you want to call them, we're salespeople, okay? So like, when people ask us for numbers, and the truth is we don't know what they're going to qualify for yet, I see two different camps here. And the camp that I'm looking for is actually the one that's in the middle, not these two camps. I see one camp of originators and loan officers that do this. Hey, Deborah, here's the truth. There's 72 different items that go into pricing out a loan to know what you qualify for. And that really determines what the interest rate is, the program is, et cetera. And the truth is, like, I can't do any of that until I have your loan application, right? That's one camp. And I get it. I've done that, by the way. I used to use that script like a long, long time ago. Like, I was like, yeah, get the loan app. So there's one camp there. Now, the other camp is they quote them out everything and go way over the top and like show them exactly what the points and fees are to date. They're not even in contract. Like, they go way the other way, right? And those are both not the most effective way to deal when someone is asking for numbers. So yesterday, when someone at the end of the call, right, asked me for, hey, so what do you think I could qualify for just based on what we're talking about? Right? That's what they asked me. Just so you know, that's a flag you should pay attention to. They're nervous. They're like, what do you think? And I literally just pulled up a TCA, a blank one, and said, hey, I'm just going to model something here for you real quick, right? It looks like based on what you're saying and based on where your monthly payment is, this is what it looks like you'll qualify for. The payment's right around $37.96 a month. But I didn't go over the top, right? Like you're just giving them a little bit. So don't be afraid, obviously, to give them a little bit. Don't gatekeep it like crazy. And also don't waste like a half an hour doing like some crazy presentation for them. Like they literally just want to know, what does a payment look like, right? And do you think that I'm qualified? That's really what they're asking, right? So go ahead and make sure that like you don't get in those extremes on those other two sides. You can shoot yourself in the foot like big time, okay? Like absolutely.
Jeremy, I
Real quick.
love that. I think you sent a TCA out earlier than a lot of LOs do. And I love that you're always really specific. You're like, that payment's $37.96 and 82 cents. Like you are very specific. Does that ever, it seems like it comes across as so expert. Like when I watch those videos, I'm like, Jeremy's an expert, but does it ever backfire any down the road where they're like, well, you said my payment was gonna be this and now it's this? Is it like,
No,
I mean, I know
not
you're
at all.
good.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where people get fear. They have fear that they're going to get shopped, and they fear that the client's going to be pissed if it's different.
Exactly. That is the fear. So here's like the three-step framework for this, right? So this is my response framework. And this is what I teach in Rise for, all the students and whatnot as well, is that number one is that you just want to acknowledge the request. That's like a third of the battle. Like just acknowledge the request that they asked for loan numbers and you don't have any of their stuff yet, et cetera. Like just acknowledge that. Like it's that simple. Like we don't want to acknowledge it. We become combative or we become insecure and like we know that they're shopping and I got to present all this crazy stuff. So the first thing is just acknowledging the request. Now the second thing, which is what Todd is speaking to, is provide a general range. Right. So for example, on this individual, I said 37.96 and 52 cents because that's what Mortgage Coach said. But I also said, so what is if you're really looking at this from like a payment perspective, we don't know if interest rates are going to move up or down. This is another script I use. Right. So what you can probably do is take this $3,700 number that I just told you and like just plus or minus $180. Like that way, if interest rates go up 0.3%, or if they go down 0.3%, you'll mentally be prepared to understand like where those payment range can be. So I don't think it ever backfires because we're only working with the very minimal information that someone has provided us. All they're looking to do, in my opinion, is get validation. Number one, be acknowledged. Number two, have a brief understanding of where things lie. And number three, how fast can you work? Would you rather work with someone that says, hey, no problem, I'm going to go ahead and just do a really quick thing for you right now? Or would you rather work with someone that's like, I need 72 bullet points from you before I can quote you anything? You know what I mean? So that's really the takeaway. It's a really good question. It has not backfired on me because I am being accurate within the information I'm given. Now, if they're qualified for something totally different, let's use my same scenario with the weird employment guy who I'm saving the loan for at 8.9%. I showed him still on the real presentation, here's what it would look like if we could qualify fully documented, but we can't. But I still showed it, right? And then I showed him, here's what we can do, and it's an exception, and this is why it cost X. So don't be afraid to show and tell, right? When stuff changes, show them what they wanted to see, no matter what. Even if they can't do it, tell them they can't do it, though. That's critical, right? Show them what they can't do, and then show them what they can do next to it and why. Like it's really, really that simple. And more people, I should say, not everyone, will work with you because of that. Okay.
Yeah. And I want to get your feedback on a thought for a third pillar to your framework. You shared, hey, acknowledge them. And then what I took from your answer is give them a good enough answer. It's incomplete, but you're giving them a good enough answer. And then to me, there's a third step where I'm going to give you that good answer. And then if you complete and once you complete the intact form, I'm going to show you exactly and like it flex exactly what the numbers are and what they look like based off the exact rate, off today's rate. So that word exactly with a little bit of confidence in pitch combined with the good enough answer will get them to the next step. At least that's my,
Dude,
what do you think of that?
you're spot on. Look at this framework at the bottom here. That is the framework,
Oh,
right?
well, there we go. Great. We've
Acknowledge
kind
the
of done this dance together a few times.
No, dude, I love it, man. You're like inside my brain. So this is what the real framework looks like, right? Acknowledge the request, provide a general range, right? Now, when you provide a general range, though, I still highly recommend you use decimal points. Don't use like 3,700, 3,800. Like that makes you look expert. If you're like 30, 50, and 52 cents, like that, it does make a difference, okay? And then number 3 is redirect back to the loan application for precision, what the next step is and how you'll get really, really accurate quotes, right?
And just throw that magic word exactly in.
Exactly. I love that. Exactly. Yeah.
It's a magic word.
It is. It is. So, dude, I'm just hogging up all the time here. Do you guys have any questions so far? You guys want to rap about anything?
You're killing, bro.
How many? Go ahead.
No, I was just complimenting.
How many that you talk to and do this with don't apply?
Oh, I love this question too. So my leads are down overall from a baseline norm over the last decade. Okay. So that's a long time, I know, but like my baseline norm is about 100 like leads a month, referrals a month. And I'm averaging right now probably about 65, sometimes 50 in a month, sometimes 70, like somewhere around there. Here's what's crazy. My lead to application rate is 76% right now, year to date. That's insane, you guys. I've never been remotely close to that high ever. So this works. I promise. Like this works.
What's your cadence to follow up after that for those who don't apply? Because I think that's a huge gap in a lot of advisors' businesses. They just focus on the ones that are the right now, and they don't even have a strategy for like some may need a couple of pokes to remind them because they get busy. So do you have
I do.
Yes.
I sure do.
I figured you did.
I love this question because you're right. Like the incremental loans that you will do will be because of follow-up. Okay. The incremental ones, right? The hot ones and you got like those, that's just normal. But the incremental loans, doing an extra deal or 3 a month is because of process, right? So, okay, let's just paint the picture. I talked to Deborah and like we have a great appointment. I send her the loan application to fill out because that's what her preference is. She doesn't want to do it over the phone, et cetera. So our cadence for follow-up on that is every other day for the first week, okay? They get a call, text, and email every other day if they haven't completed it, right? Now, if they still haven't responded, okay, because there's a difference here in my process on if you reached out to them to follow up, but you got in touch, there's a different follow-up path versus if they just still didn't contact you at all, right? So if they still didn't contact you at all after that first week of following up every other day, call, email, text, then it goes to 1 time a week for the next 4 weeks moving forward, call, email, text. Okay. Then after that, it goes to 1 time a month if they still haven't engaged with you for the next year. Once we get to that point, by the way, of, hey, they haven't interacted or it's not hot, or they told us like, you know what, I'm not in a rush at all. Things have changed. We do put them on a once a month drip campaign, like an email drip campaign. And then twice a year, I go back through all my leads and look at who are the ones that didn't fill out an app that I had an appointment with. And we reach out to every single one of those people, call, text, email, right? And then number 2 is that we looked at all the ones that just never contacted us at all. And we reach out to all of those people via text and email, not call. Okay, so we do that twice a year based on the previous 12 months of leads.
Would you say the 76% from lead to app is majority will apply pretty quickly? And it's just, you know, maybe, do you know what X% came from the follow-up afterwards or?
Yeah. So I know I mentioned 1 to 3 loans a month. Like I close 1 to 3 loans a month every single month of people that I might have talked to like a year ago. Like, so that is a real number. I don't know what percentage. I guess I could figure out the percentage.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, that's what I was curious about.
So 11, 12%, something like that of my closings, 20 closings, you know, some 10, 12, 15%, something like that.
And I noticed
So-
you didn't, nowhere in your presentation, you didn't discuss credit or rates. Is that by design?
Yep.
Got it.
If you focus on the right things, they'll focus on the right things.
Hey, Jeremy.
So I want to say that
wanna-
success leaves. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, and because I also have to get on the road, Todd, so let me just ask this question. Also want to showcase my LinkedIn newsletter today. I just put a link to this in chat. But Jeremy, I interviewed earlier this loan officer, Ryan, in the Fort Collins market. And one of the things that's unique about the team that he leads, he's part of the Gustafson team, he's the co-leader of it, is that they do a lot of builder business. So about 60 million of their volume is through local builders. And his value prop is, hey, work with me and I'll help you sell more homes. And he really focused on how he helps with marginally qualified buyers. So here was an example of where he was helping a first-time home buyer, and he was like, hey, typical FHA 3% down, $24,000 in down payment. Here's your payment, or excuse me, in cash to close. And then he did a strategy where they did a down payment assistance program and lowered that. And then he did a strategy where they did a builder concession and literally got in with no cash to close, but a little higher payment. So my question to you, I came away from that conversation going, oh my God, this is money. To really make a case that I can help you with people that it's close. He called them marginally qualified folks. Is that a thing that you see a lot of? And is that a value prop you use? Talk about how I'm going to help you sell more homes because I could get more buyers qualified. And then this is an example.
I think that a lot of those examples too is definitely market specific. So I do present those. I do always tell everyone that I work with, my number one job is to make you look good. My number two job is to make sure that you can sell more homes and close more transactions. So those are my two agent scripts, let's call them, or people that we're working with. Now, with that said, what you showed is really cool. And if I was in a market similar to that, where you can get the rent to almost be the same exact as a mortgage payment, because I did notice that on there, yeah, I would do that all day. What I'm seeing.
Well, he said that's not necessarily common. He's like,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
that's not real, but
that is a builder that has that home that he is able to use that strategy. But I think in his market, more of his buyers are 50% of rent.
Yeah, that sounds about right nationally. Now, with all that said, what I do love about that strategy and what he is doing and killing in it, that I do a lot too, and I teach a lot, is show them, and you guys have heard me say this, show them something they didn't ask for. So I show buy downs all the time. That doesn't mean they're going to be able to get the 5% credit or the 6% credit when they're making the offer, but it's showing them that and how it works and how that compares if they don't get it. I do it all the time, right? All the time. So that is really important. And that does help most of the time your agents or your builders, et cetera, get people warmed up and want to actually make an offer, gets them excited a little bit. The only time that it can backfire, of course, is that if you have the random person, and you can't scale a business to the random person, for the record, who is nope, I'm only making offers under purchase price with the credit, no matter what. I don't care what the numbers say. That's the strategy I want. That's the only time that it won't work. But I think showing people things that they didn't ask for that could be a huge benefit to them is super duper important, for sure.
Yeah. And I shared a link to that mortgage coach in chat for anyone watching. Check it out, and a link to the full article, which really think of it as another sales meeting in a box.
And those of you listening on one of our podcast platforms, it is down in the show notes down below.
Yeah. So you guys can all have a copy of this, by the way. I'm cool with that. These are things that are available in the RiseCo community for the members that sign up for it. I have over 20 of these different decks, trainings, et cetera, that are all prepared for use. But I'll send this to be sent out. This actual slide right here is that this is all you have to remember is the 6 mistakes, right? That sabotage your first meeting. This will give you a nice little overview of what it looks like. Great reminders for yourself. You guys will all get a copy of that. It'll be available through Win by Noon and Mortgage Coach. But before we move on to the next thing, Deborah, Todd, Dave, any specific takeaways from me going through this, like that you think is important to anchor for everyone who's watching?
I want to anchor that it works. Again, I've been, I'm doing, my team actually has the opposite. You said your leads are down, my team's leads are up, and they're a little overwhelmed. So I just looked at my phone. I've recorded 9 lead calls so far this week. So I'm skeptical like everybody else, but I decided that, when Jeremy talks through this and I'm like, oh, I can't do that. That won't work with my clients. That doesn't work in my market. I had to ask myself, is that my truth or is that the truth? And I said, well, what the heck? You know what? Why don't I give it a try? So literally I get on and I'm like, oh, hey, real quick, could it be okay if I record this call so I can take notes for my team? Because I'm not going to talk to the client after this initial call. And they're like, absolutely. You said at Modern Mortgage Summit, you had one person who said no, they were sketchy. So far, I've done this about 100 times, and I've only had one person say no. And guess what? They were kind of sketchy. They were never going to qualify. They were never going to qualify for a mortgage. And every time I take something that Jeremy says and I execute on it, I have a better call. I did use your yesterday. I've only used it a couple of times, and I'm not using it enough. Hey, tell me your story, the whole story, versus me telling the person I've been doing this for 25 years, and here's how great I am, and here's how great my mortgage company is. It also shortened up that call, even though this guy told me I felt like years, like it was a long call, I thought, and it wasn't. It was like 17 minutes, but he'd walk me through his property in Nicaragua and his mom giving him a gift and why his mom thinks he's wrong to buy a condo and why he's not going to have kids. I mean, I learned a lot about this guy in this initial call. And so I'm going to, one, thank you, Jeremy. And two, is I'm going to take the framework here that you just outlined, and I'm going to make sure that my next calls are exactly this way, because I feel like I'm going to be way more effective.
100%. That's awesome.
I would say the 2 questions. What'd you say, Todd?
I said, I thought it was pretty damn good before.
That's awesome, man.
My 2 favorite questions were the tell me your story, your whole story, and then the closing question about what fears or concerns do you have? Because I feel like those are very EQ questions that we tend to either avoid, not intentionally, but we go so into logic and forget that people buy because of emotion and logic, that it allows them to feel heard, connected, that you care, that you understand their problem, which is what I think will be the superpower of the future to attract more people. But the other thing is, you said at the very beginning where you recorded and you watch your film.
Yep.
And I just think, because I have clients that will say, I did exactly what Jeremy said, or Dan Keller, or the nerd does, and I'm not getting the same results. And sometimes it's so subtle, but it could be when they're asking about the payment, your wishy-washy language of like, well, maybe what you could probably do and what I think it could work out this way. Like those little things that you inject by not watching your game film can sometimes be what makes people feel like, man, I don't know if I can anchor my wagon to this guy and he'll really lead me through what I think is going to be a storm, possibly.
Yep.
Like you deliver it with kindness and care and patience, but also confidence, not arrogance, because there's a fine line there. And
Yep.
it just feels real and feels safe.
It's interesting you say that. So the trainer AI that I use, that I have trained, right, that is really, really good now. I upload my transcripts, like to my audio transcripts to it, and it breaks everything out on what happened in the call, right? And why what works. Like here, I'm going to read you one. This is from a client audio transcript, right? I loaded it up and it's like, this was a loan officer consultation. The married couple employed at Lucasfilm who want to buy a new home in Loch Lomond before selling their current Larkspur property. The LO walks them through buy before sell bridge, blah, blah, blah. Then it says your voice. It's giving me feedback. You lead with immediate reassurance. You use plain conversational language to make complex loan structures feel manageable. Your energy was calm and confident, just what you said, right? And you treat clients as intelligent people who just need the right information presented clearly. You consistently take the pressure off by absorbing the complexity yourself and delivering only what the client needs in order to act. And then it literally gives the takeaways of like, what are some of your signature moves of your own isms, right? Signature move, you name a potential downside yourself before the client can worry about it. Then you reframe it without dismissing it. That is something I do all the time. Right. So it gives you all this feedback already. Use phrases like take that off the worry meter, which makes it fun and casual, right? Least path of resistance is another one you use to signal that things are easier than the client feared. These are really simple ways that we can use tools from recording like ourselves and understanding and reading and studying it right? What you don't want the feedback to be is like, oh, you were really aggressive and arrogant, right? And if it does say that, that's okay. I had one of my LOs use this prompt, right? And he did it last night. He texted me at like 10:30 p.m. He's like, dude, I have so much room to grow. He's like, man, this thing gave me great feedback, right? So yeah, it's really good. Make sure that you are spending time practicing, not just playing, right? Make sure that you're spending like a lot of time practicing, not just playing. Now, Dave, if it's okay with you, I'd love to just give like a quick sneak peek of like the success codes. I'm not going to have time to go through all of it today because that's like an hour webinar in itself.
Guys, tune into this. I didn't get to share my big takeaway, but my big takeaway so far is just how special Jeremy is at making complex processes simple. Like those slides are just gold. And so let's go into your code. And again, guys, if you are not part of the Rise Code community, Deborah's put a link in there. Check it out. Jeremy is open the doors to one-on-one coaching, group coaching, very special. So yeah, dude, rock out the success code.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're gonna have I'm calling it the best webinar of the year is going to be on August 19th. Like we're prepping for it like crazy right now. And we'd love to see you there. The goal is to get, 400 people there on that webinar where I'm going to literally walk everyone through how you can create your own success plan to close 5 more transactions per month by the end of the year, which is a huge lift for most people. So if you're interested in that, just keep your eyes and ears open. You'll see lots of marketing for it. You can also just, keep checking risecode.com for it. So these are just like success codes. And originally Dave Savage inspired me around this because he is a code guy, right? And he like has a code and he explained to me what it was. So these are things that I have been working on to help like the students and the people I consult, friends, whatever, on like how they can make their own code. But like, this is what I know works, even if you just use these codes in business, like for sure. And I broke it down and it's like, read it often, practice it daily. It gives you like how to use this document, but I broke it down into mindset, right? Discipline. These are like my codes, like call them chapters: mindset, discipline, grit, time, learning, relationships, leadership, emotional intelligence, failure, personal standards, courage, perspective, personal growth, and high performance. Those are like what I consider all my code pillars and chapters. And then I break things down here as to what I've noticed other people do that are really successful, but what my experience has been through failure and success in each of them. And the biggest one I will tell you, this principle that no one talks about, is your darkness. Okay, like this is one of the greatest lies, is the believing this, that like all of us successful, hard-driven people like don't have a darkness inside them. Dude, my dark passenger is real. And you have to learn like how to actually control it and not let your darkness become your direction, right? But let it become a guide of like what you need to do, right? So the difference isn't that like super driven people don't experience like that darkness, those feelings. It's that they refuse to let it become their identity, right? And I wrestle with mine every single day. I wake up first thing in the morning, my feet hit the ground, and my 2 dark passengers are sitting right there to greet me, like ready to rock. And instead of ignoring them, I say, hey, what's up? We'll get to you later. And I move on with my day. Right? Like that, it's really important to know. I want you guys all to know that it's okay to be fearful. It's okay to like have doubt. It's okay to have all those things, but learn how to use it correctly. I super appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. I could talk for 15 hours today, and I have a 10 o'clock meeting that I'm gonna hop on with my salespeople right now. So
I got one closing thought, and then I'll hand it to you, Todd, to close. So guys, have a code. That's Jeremy's code. He lives that code. One of my pillar codes is always better, never bitter. And that is my way of talking to my darkness, because we have darkness and there's a lot of codes. But if you live always better, never bitter, or at least you try to, you have a better life versus a bitter life. So Todd, closing thoughts, or Deborah and Todd.
I was just putting in the chat, Deb code to that would be everything can always be improved, is something that I always think and say. Todd?
Love it. As always, we're super grateful that you took the time to be here. Jeremy always adds value. I would just encourage you to think through your process and what can you take from his process? You don't have to do his process to be successful, but my guess is if you took pieces of his process and inserted into yours, you would be more successful. And the only way that you can figure this out is if you measure your results. Jeremy's got 76% lead to app. That's probably better than yours. I know it's better than mine. And so I would just encourage you, hey, give this a try. Don't give it a try. Actually put it into action, input over output. And the bottom line is I think if you actually take the time to do these things that you sat through here live and you put it into play, you'll do much better. As always, thanks for joining us here on the Loan Officer Mastermind. Can't wait to see you all next week.